One of the things we love to do each week is to fly our plane over the studio and drop what we call the Psaki bomb. And we have plenty of ammunition this week. First up, Jen Psaki was asked about whether or not President Biden can beat COVID. Watch.
President Biden has repeatedly promised to shut down this virus. He has talked about wanting to end the pandemic. Is that still possible? Does he still believe that that is possible? Or are we starting to shift now, especially with the rise of this variant, to perhaps accepting that we need to live with COVID for years to come?
Well, first I would say there's a lot we don't know about the variant yet, and that is challenging and frustrating. I understand for Americans, for all of you, and we want to give the space and time for the public health officials who are working 24/7 to assess and provide guidance on it.
Now, what I find interesting is that when Joe Biden came into office, he said Donald Trump had totally boogered up. He didn't use those words. Those are my words. But that that Donald Trump had really messed up the response to COVID-19, even though there were so many things that we did not know early on. And he was depending upon the advice of a lot of other people who apparently didn't know a whole lot either, like Dr. Fauci. Nevertheless, the president's actions, President Trump's actions, did result in getting a vaccine, actually 3 to market in record time. Nothing like it had ever been done under Operation Warp Speed. He never got real credit for that. In fact, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris both said they wouldn't take a vaccine if he had anything to do with it. So they made it hard for a lot of people to trust the quality and the efficiency of the vaccine. All that aside, throughout 2020, there were many people in the mainstream media and many Democrats who said that every single COVID death was on Donald Trump, as if he was personally responsible for people getting infected with COVID-19, even though he wasn't. So if that's true, then whoever is president now, I guess, would also be responsible for every death. That means since we've had more deaths in 2021 than we did in 2020 itself, that Joe Biden has had a worse record on COVID and COVID deaths than Donald Trump. Now, that's not what I'm trying to convey as my own view. I'm just wanting to know if some of the people in mainstream media and the Democrat Party who said that about Donald Trump will now say that about Joe Biden. My guess is the answer is no. Well, another Psaki bomb this week was when Jen Psaki was asked to respond to Israel's request to stop nuclear talks due to Iran's nuclear blackmail. You would think that she would push hard against Iran, who's building up an arsenal that they have promised publicly that they would use against Israel. But here's her response. Watch.
Nuclear talks, the Israeli PM Naftali Bennett spoke with Blinken today and suggested Iran nuclear talks should be halted and stressed that Iran is conducting, quote, nuclear blackmail. What's the U.S. response? Is there any consideration of halting the talks at this point?
Every country, including, of course, our friends in Israel, is entitled to their own point of view.
That's it? They're entitled to their own point of view. Of course they're entitled to their own point of view, but if their point of view is that they want to protect themselves from being vaporized, do you not think that's something the United States could speak out on a little more strongly? Thank you, Jen Psaki, for being such a clarion voice of truth and reason when it comes to the Israelis being nuked out of existence by the Iranians. Unbelievable. All right, another Psaki bomb this week. Nothing is off the table during the pandemic, she says. We're willing to do whatever it takes to fight the pandemic. I don't know if that's true or not, but it's what she says. Let's watch.
Not go further in the direction of public health and mandates, given the potential risk and the fact that we're headed into winter.
Sure. Well, one, I would say that nothing is off the table, including domestic travel.
Oh, nothing's off the table. So we just have to wait and see what the government allows the free people to do. Used to be that the government protected our liberties. They didn't tell us what they were. But this is a new day, and this is kind of what we're dealing with. Folks, I have said many times, look, COVID is real. I hate what it's done to friends of mine. I hate that some of my very dear friends have died from it. But I don't need the government to be my parent and tell me exactly what I must do. I'm going to try to take every precaution I can, and then I'll make some decisions, some of which I hope are good. But I'm wondering, when she says nothing is off the table, are we going to get to the place where, like they do in Australia, they start sending us to barbed wire camps because we don't get the vaccination that Joe Biden thinks we ought to have? She said nothing's off the table. We shall see. I don't know. Finally, this little truth bomb from Jen Psaki. This is pretty fun, because Peter Doocy, who has got to be the person she really does not enjoy being in the press room, asked if all of these looting mobs, these highly organized looting mobs out in California particularly, going into everything from a Home Depot to a Louis Vuitton store to a CVS, and they just go in and they wreak havoc and they steal hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of stuff in a flash. And she is asked the question, does she believe that the pandemic is the root cause for this crime spree? Watch this.
So when a huge group of criminals organizes themselves and they want to go loot a store, a CVS, a Nordstrom, a Home Depot, until the shelves are clean, you think that's because of the pandemic?
I think a root cause in a lot of communities is the pandemic, yes.
She said that with a straight face. I thought it was a comedy routine and we were going to hear a glump from a snare drum, but nope. She actually stood there flat-footed and said that the reason people are looting stores is because of the pandemic. Now, what does she mean by that? That one of the physical effects of COVID is that it causes people to commit crime? I can't even imagine what she meant by that. How that somehow COVID and the presence of it has inspired people to form large gangs of up to 100 people and rush into a store in an organized fashion and just steal stuff like there was no tomorrow. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, be sure to leave a like, then subscribe, and hit the notification bell below. Now, if you didn't like it, you ought to find a Ben Shapiro video to detox you with more facts.